Fans, Joe Vitali here, back after a quick respite while I moved. This is Chicago Blackhawks Hockey Central. I am Joe Vitali. That is Skoks. And we're going to talk to you today about some of the younger cats that might be getting into the lineup, what they look like, a little preview of what they could bring to the table. And we're going to start by going with some forwards. Then we're going to go to some D-men, and then finally some goaltenders, the most important position in the game. Skoks, how are you doing? How was the 4th of July?
I'm good, man. Not much went on. Just a little family gathering. Kept it safe. Just little sparklers, little poppets, but nothing serious. Yeah, so it was all
Nice.
smooth. Yeah.
Very cool. As
hmm
long as everyone has all their fingers and toes. All that
Right.
matters.
Yep.
All right, so we're just going to jump right in. Connor Bedard, he is the number one young guy because he is 17 years old. And on July 17th, he will turn 18, and he will then be able to sign his contract. He cannot sign his contract yet.
Mm-mm.
So, what are you going to look for in Connor Bedard? Well, generational talent. I mean, the kid was a captain last year in the Western Hockey League for the Regina Pats. 57 games played, 143 points, and 7 games played in the playoffs for 20 points. I mean, what more is there to say? He did the World Junior Championship as well, and that was 7 games played for 23 points,
hmm
and it was almost a record. It wasn't quite there yet, but it was very close.
Yeah. I think he. I think he moved in the top two. If he didn't pass up Lindros, I think it's him and Lindros for points in the World Juniors. So he's breaking records out there, man. At
Yeah,
at that age too, it's it's crazy.
it's just wild to think about that he's still 17. That's just what I can't
hmm
really get my head past. But yeah, and so what you're going to expect with him, his shot compared to Austin Matthews, quick, but not like a burner, not like anything crazy like Nikolai Ehlers or
hmm
if you want to take it to the Blackhawks, a Victor Stahlberg,
hmm
something like that, where I don't think he's that quick, but I do believe that he is very adequate in the speed department.
Right. He's you know what? He's pretty similar to Reichel, right? Like he doesn't have double A speed, but dude, his body movement, the way that he skates with the puck, it's playing fast with the puck. Like sure you might be able to catch him right on a breakaway if you have a speedy D man, but if you're just trying to catch him throughout the ozone, carrying the puck, dude, he's so just nimble. I mean, he is a elite skater, but the speed is, which is, it's great speed, just not elite. But that's completely fine.
Completely fine with that. Smaller stature, everyone always likes to bring up his size. Oh, he's 5'10", he's 5'10".
hmm
Well, when you are a little on the shorter side, you got that lower center of gravity, you've got that nimbleness, you've got that agility, and that you can weave through people. Like Patrick Kane didn't get lit up all the time because of how nimble he was.
hmm
It's going to be almost kind of the same thing with Connor Bedard. So that's Connor Bedard. I mean, I'm not entirely sure if there's anything much else to say. He's just a freak, plain and simple. And then this is going to bring us to our next guy, which is Lucas Reichel. And so Lucas Reichel, he's 21 years old, 6 foot 170, shoots left from Germany, played for the Ice Bar in Berlin, which, if you remember, the Blackhawks played in their global series game in Germany.
hmm
So last season for the AHL Rockford Ice Hogs, 55 games played, 51 points. 5 games played in the playoffs with only 1 goal, which is a little. You don't really like to see
Right.
that kind of freezing up,
hmm
not clutch. But he played 23 games for the Chicago Blackhawks with 15 points. I mean,
Yeah.
that's great.
hmm That's great pace, man. Even looking back at like 21-22 season, 56 games played, 57 points, right, in Rockford. And he played 11 games up with the Hawks with just one assist.
Mm,
So that's obviously his rookie year.
yeah.
Um, but when you look at last year, 22-23, just supplement that 15 points in 23 games. That's already a big step forward, man. And that's at the NHL level. So you can't say that he's stagnant in development because that's an obvious improvement. That's a really big
Oh,
improvement.
huge improvement. And you got to remember when he in the 2021 season, he's playing in the Dell, the
Right.
Deutsche Elite League. So
Right.
that's international ice, and it's a pretty different game.
Hmm.
And so if you're going from the Dell to the NHL, I
Hmm.
mean, you're hard pressed for success, plain and simple.
Hmm.
And so that's where you see that one assist. But
Right.
then a point per game in AHL is fantastic.
Hmm.
You're going to see you see other guys like just off the top of my head, I've got Tampa Bay Lightning on the brain for some reason, like Alex Barry Boulet.
Hmm.
He's like over a point per game in the A, and they're going to give him a look because of their salary cap constraints in the NHL. And
Hmm.
so, you see that type of production point per game in the AHL, and then it's going to come to the NHL, and you're probably going to be looking, it's going to drop, of course, but you're still probably going to be looking at like a point 0.6 per game, point per game, maybe like a 0.55, 0.5. And that's, when for guys who are in the AHL like that, it's great to see that sort of growth in their development.
Hmm. And what's really impressive, going back to the Dell, right? Going into his draft year, so 1920 and then 2021, his points aren't off the charts, right? I mean, he's not shooting up the charts, like a top five prospect um, coming into the pre-draft process. But so 1920, 24 points in 42 games, and in 2021, 27 points in 38 games. So small improvement, but even going to the AHL, I mean, he's doubling his points, and in the doubled games, or pretty close to double, 56 games, right? But to see that step in Rockford and then taking it up with the Hawks, I think we're gonna have a sure top six player here with Reichel.
I concur. His speed and his
Hmm.
agility, uh, really, really good puck handler and forechecker, relentless.
Hmm.
He's been called. So um, I think we definitely have a top six player
Hmm.
in Lucas Reichel, and I'm really excited to see him with the what or with the with the Blackhawks. I almost said White Sox. Nice, yeah, dude. He can play baseball. No, he can't. He's not Michael Jordan. Um, I'm going to see him in the top six for the Blackhawks, probably at that 2LLW,
Hmm.
um, and it's gonna be good to see him with the Blackhawks for the entire season.
Yep, it's gonna be interesting.
And we can move on to Cole Guttman, which is like he's one of our favorite players,
Hmm.
and in the preseason, he scored all of the Chicago Blackhawks goals,
Yep.
and unfortunately, he got a shoulder injury in the early parts of the season, and decided that he wanted to tough it out, and he did until he couldn't, and then he had to be shut down and then get some surgery. But he's got a great motor on him.
Hmm.
He's a little on the taller side, I want to say. Oh no, he's
For
not
him, he's smaller
5'10".
size. Yeah.
Yeah, he is smaller. I
Hmm.
must be confusing him with someone else. He
Hmm.
looked like long, lean and long.
Right. Hmm.
Um, so 5'10", 181, shoots right, 24. He's from California. Always
Hmm.
love to see U.S. players, especially from California. That's the Gretzky effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he went to the University of Denver, 4 years at the University of Denver, and then he ended up with the C on his chest, over
Mm-hmm.
a point per game in his senior year. So 41 GP, 45 points, and relentless guy.
Mm-hmm. And even last year, right? So jumping to the Rockford Ice Hogs,
Yeah,
he had 30 points in 39 games. I mean, just taking that step, and yeah, he was 23 at the time. So a little older of a prospect that we picked up from the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think it was.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, and just seeing that right off the bat, 30 and 39, he knows how he knows how to play the game the right way. And even going back to the preseason, right? He scored the only goals because he knows where to be, man. You know, most of these young kids during the preseason, they just want to show out, right? Like, I'm going to show what I can do. I'm going to skate the puck up, shoot it everywhere. But if you play the game right, play it smooth, the points are going to come your way, man. And with the Hawks this year in 14 games, 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists. So he still contributes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is nothing to scoff at. When you're going from
Hmm.
the NCAA, you make the jump from the NCAA to the NHL,
Hmm.
and you're getting 6 points in 14, so you're half a point per game for all intents and purposes. I mean, I don't. That's awesome. That's great.
Right.
Not everyone's going to be a Cale Makar and go from the NCAA into the NHL and then just be a stud. It doesn't really happen that often.
Hmm.
So it's really nice to see that he took like a little bit of the long road,
Hmm. Right.
going to 4 years of college. So he's got that degree to fall back on in case the pro hockey doesn't work out for him, which I think it will, but
Yep. Yeah.
thinking ahead for sure. So I really like him as a player. I think he's going to be in that middle six,
Yeah.
top
Definitely.
nine, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, and this season for the Hawks, and I'm stoked to see him because I think he really wants to be in the NHL, and I think he's willing to do whatever it takes to stay there.
Yeah, man. He's just a super spunky player out there. Like his first goal came on a 2-on-1 versus Toronto, and
Nice.
a wide open passing lane, ready for the 1T. But hey, I'm gonna keep the puck. I'm gonna rip it top shelf, and that's my first NHL goal. It's impressive, man. When you're hungry like that, it's it's a sign of good things to come, really.
I agree 100%.
Hmm.
So now we can shift from the forwards to the defensemen. And this is a player that I really like. I'm really high on him. Isaac Phillips,
Hmm.
only 21 years old, 6'3", 194, shoots left. And he's been in the system for a hot minute since 2020,
Hmm.
2020, 2021. Rockford Ice Hogs. Not much of like, I'm not going to say he's like a huge point getter because he's not. He's more of a two-way guy.
Hmm.
And then with that size 6'3", he also likes to like muck it up a little bit, get a little physical, face wash a couple dudes,
Hmm.
and I just love that. I love those aspects of a player. And he's a team guy, and he'll stand up for his teammates and stuff, which I always appreciate,
Hmm.
because I feel like if you're, maybe say you're a little less skilled. This doesn't really apply to Isaac Phillips, but if you're a little less skilled, but you're a locker room guy and you stick up for your teammates, you think of like a Revo, those types of
Right.
players, like a Patrick Maroon.
Hmm.
Um, and not to say that Isaac Phillips is going to be either of those guys, because those guys are forwards for one.
Hmm.
But and one of them is a straight goon. So,
Right.
um, but I think he's a good locker room guy. I think he's a good two-way defenseman, and I
Hmm.
think he's got nice. He knows where he needs to be, and he's a scrappy player. And I just appreciate all those attributes he has.
Right. Even starting out in Rockford, right? Just board battling in the corners, retrieving pucks, man. He doesn't lose a battle. He gets the puck, man, and starts to break out, right? And over the last 2 years, he has turned it up on offense. And you might not say that his speed is very impressive, but hey, he can move for 6'3". I mean, he can move. Even this past season, 16 games with the Hawks, 5 points. Yep, five points, 1 goal, 4 assists. But if you're watching him during those games, he's carrying the puck up, man. He wants to push the offense,
Yeah.
and that's great to see for a big body player like that. Just creating the hole. That's great, man. That he's turning into like a playmaker.
Yeah. I have seen lately, like more recently,
Hmm.
him driving play, carrying the puck
Yep.
in, driving the net. I saw a filthy goal he did. He did one of those where he was like coming up the left wing boards
Hmm.
straight in on net. And he goes like to fake between the legs, and then he goes and he just wraps it around the goalie.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
was it was so cool. Just like drive the net, cut in front, put it in, bury it. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's a D man, dude. Like, what's going on?
Yep. It's impressive, because I think he's starting to realize like I'm 6'3". I have decent speed, but he could be nifty with the puck. He really can. Similar to like Alex Vlasic, which we'll get into, but he's a nifty player, man. For his size,
Nice. Yeah. I also find it very interesting. He's Jamaican. He's Canadian Jamaican.
really.
So he's from Barrie, Ontario.
Hmm.
Um, and so, I just you're not going to see a lot of Jamaican players in the league.
No.
So I think that's exciting.
Hmm.
And you just mentioned him, so we're going to go to him right now. Wilmet's own Alex Vlasic,
Hmm.
6'6", 198, shoots left, 22 years old, born June 5th, 2001. It's a young guy
Hmm.
whose cousin is Mark Edward Vlasic of the San Jose Sharks.
Yep.
So
Veteran D man.
veteran D man,
Yeah.
defensive defenseman, one of the better defensive defensemen, I think, of all time. Might be a
Hmm.
little outlandish to say that, but I'm going to stick to it because why not?
Hmm. Yeah.
So he pulled 3 years at Boston University. Last year's junior year, he wore the A. Not a point getter at all in college, but so it looks like he's kind of following in his cousin's footsteps with that defensiveness. But in this 2022-2023 season with the Rockford IceHawks, he put up 19 points, 2 goals, 17 assists. And in the playoffs, he had 5 assists for 5. So he was a point per game player in the playoffs. So that just means he's icy cold,
Hmm.
ice in his veins in the playoffs. You'd love to see that clutch factor, that clutch gene. And you can steadily see his. This was just his first full year in the AHL, and he had 25 PIMs. So he also little bit of a scrappy player. I mean, when you're 6'6", 198, you're definitely going to need an Italian beef summer here in Chicago. Pack on those
Hmm.
LBs, but I mean, 6'6", you're kind of looked towards to be that kind of um, you know defense deterrent.
Hmm.
I mean, you're the tower. You're overwatch over your guys, and he's been scrapping it up in the A, and it's a tough league
Hmm.
down there, and
Yeah.
it's really nice to see that. Especially, we got the leadership capabilities in college, and now you see that leadership on the ice sticking up for the teammates.
Hmm. Even seeing him at development camp last year. So before the 2022-23 season, right? Uh, we saw him go coast to coast, man, just skating the puck. Because I believe he was the only guy there that had some NHL time because he got a few games in with the Hawks towards the end
Right.
of 21-22. So he really came into camp just, I mean, like, I'm the guy, I'm 6'6", right? I could skate,
Yeah.
but he's impressive, man. And I believe he broke his ankle um in the early parts of the
Yeah.
season, 20 22-23. So last season, and he still played 56 games, man. He came back, and I'm guessing 100% health, and he played very well.
Yeah, that was a weird situation. I remember I think he was like he like broke his ankle or whatever,
Hmm.
and then it got like infected, and then like it would
Yeah.
just turned into this cycle that it was like he
Hmm.
just couldn't catch a break. He had to because he couldn't fit his foot into his skate. It was so
Hmm.
swollen and everything. So he was like, okay, well, I can't really do anything. And then I
Hmm.
think he was doing some off ice stuff in the meantime. So good to see that he got 56 games in the A. And I
Hmm.
think we're going to see him probably second pairing um,
Hmm.
up here in the NHL for the Blackhawks this season.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's ready for it. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the experience. Even going back to 21, 22.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a player to watch this year. Whether he's paired up with, I believe his first year was with Seth Jones on line one, but obviously that might not happen with if Korchinski gets a few games in early, but maybe he does stay with line one, or if he bumps down with Connor Murphy.
Yeah.
Um, that would be interesting to see.
I
Definitely.
see him with Connor Murphy because I mean the only thing I is kind of weird with that would be that Connor Murphy's like a two-way guy, and then
Hmm.
Vlasic is like a shutdown guy, or maybe he
Hmm.
wants to be more of a two-way guy. So then you have two ways, which is fine. Because then
Right.
like if Connor wants to jump, if Murph wants to go jump up in the brush, then Vlasic can
Hmm.
stay back. Or hey, Vlasic wants to, he's got the puck, he's taking it to the hoop. Connor Murphy can stay back. And
Hmm.
then I just want to go back a second and say Isaac Phillips. I believe he's probably going to be um, same thing. He's more of a two-way guy. Maybe go get him with
Hmm.
Seth Jones on that first
Yeah.
after they had 9 games with Korchinski on that first pairing. Um,
Hmm.
we're just going to have to see how it shakes out. Some of these guys, just kind of throwing them into the fire. Like I said, Isaac Phillips he's been in the league in the A for a couple years, so he's not
Yep.
really like getting thrown into the fire. Vlasic, he's got a little bit of NHL experience, and I think that taste is what's getting him to wanting to come back and wanting to push the envelope, get to that level, be a starter in the NHL. And I really,
Hmm.
really like that. And
Hmm.
so I think that's it for the D men.
Hmm.
And I'm excited because there's you've always seen like lately the Hawks have always been drafting D men. You got Boquist, you got
Yep.
Yoki Haru. I mean, they're not here, but then you've got your Phillips, your Vlasic, your Del Mastro, your Allen. You've got all these players, Korchinski. So
Hmm.
kind of a huge backlog of D, and it's nice to see the fruits of that labor that will probably be this season.
Yep. Exactly. It's just going to be interesting to see the pairings, right? But
Hmm.
it's exciting, man.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yep.
so stoked. And then
Hmm.
lastly, we're going to go with a goaltender, and we're going to be looking here at Arvid Soderblom. So or Soderblom, sorry.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the backup for sure to
Hmm.
Mrazek. And so we know Mrazek is a bit of a band-aid. His play last season was not that bad, surprisingly, for
Hmm.
being
Yeah.
kind of injured all the time. But um, you know, so I think we're going to be rolling with Mrazek Soderblom. And
Hmm.
I think if Mrazek goes down, you might be able to bring up like a Jackson Stauber or
Yeah. That's what I've been thinking.
or
Hmm.
because I don't think there's really many backup goaltenders available, and I think the ones that are still
Hmm.
available, I think like Martin Jones is still available, which is like
Hmm.
he's good. Like he had
Mhm.
20, I want to say like 23 or 27 wins last season.
Yeah, last season was weird
Yeah,
for him.
it was like
Yeah,
a resurgence. It was like, oh, well, like
it
Martin, because
was.
he was
Yeah.
on the Flyers, I want to say, and he had to back up.
Yeah.
He had to get put in kind of not on like emergency basis, but like he had to
Mhm.
go in when he wasn't really like ready, and everyone was like, oh my god, Martin Jones is
Right.
cooked. Like he cannot
Mhm.
play in this league anymore. It's
Mhm.
unfortunate, and he had
And then he went to the Kraken,
Kraken and
right?
with
Yeah.
Dave Hackstall and that defensive system of like
Mhm.
misfits all in front of him, I think really helped. I think the
Yeah.
Kraken were able to set a defensive umbrella and push
Mhm.
all of those guys out in front of him so that he
Mhm.
has vision and those shots are coming in from the point and those shots from the point are not high danger chances. They don't really go
Mhm.
in. So I think he was able to just kind of shut it down from there
Mhm.
underneath that defensive system. So I think if you put him in like a good defensive system, which would not be the Chicago Blackhawks,
Mhm.
they're going at least not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
There, I don't think he's going to be doing that well, and I also think he's going to want too much money and too much term. And then
Mhm.
you go and you get into like JF Berube and stuff. Like
Mm.
these
Yeah.
guys are not. I don't think they're. They might be AHLers at this point, so I don't really
Mhm.
think that a goalie's in the cards, unfortunately, because I don't think anyone is made a move quick enough. I don't think KD made a move quick enough. I think all of them got gobbled up. But
Right.
yeah, so
Mhm.
Soderblom, he's huge. He is
Yeah,
six
he's
three 179.
yeah. Mhm.
I was when I was watching him when I was working at Fifth Third Arena and I saw him at
Mhm.
practice. Dude, you get him on
Mhm.
skates and you get him in that goalie gear.
Yeah.
He is a mammoth
Yeah.
dude. So
And I
yeah,
know right. And I know that they don't list his wingspan. I don't believe on like elite
no,
prospects or
no,
anything like that, but dude, he is long, man. I mean, he's like a spider out there,
yeah,
right? Sort of reminds me of like Luongo. Like he was only like 6'2", but he had crazy
yeah. He had
length.
monkey arms. It was
Right,
he was like an orangutan.
right.
Yeah,
Uh, he's going to be someone to watch, you know. So 22, 23 season, not the best stats, right? So like 89% save percentage, 2-10. But when you look at like those 15 games, I mean, he kept us in more than half of those games. Where if you had in like Mrazek or Stalock, like that game would have been a blowout, you know. So he's relentless in net, man. I mean, he's a really good positional goalie, makes the right saves, or makes the saves when you have to make a save, right?
right.
But he's consistent, man, and I think he's gonna improve this year,
Yeah,
definitely.
and if I remember correctly, like, well, first of all, the Blackhawks were not like weren't doing him any favors, getting pucks out
Right.
or whatever. But I think I remember a lot of his goals being that he let up like cross creasers and stuff, like things that
Right.
like
Right.
Vasilevsky, Sorokin, Shesterkin, you name it, he ain't making
Hmm.
them. No one's
No. No.
making those types of saves. So I think he just kind of it was a mixture of bad luck and the fact
Hmm.
that he was just like, the jump from the A to the
Hmm.
NHL on a bad team. It's
Yeah.
it's just not it's
Hmm.
it's not a good recipe. It's not a recipe for success.
Hmm. Even with Mrazek and Stalock, I believe they were both out at one point for a extended time, and Soderblom just became the guy, right?
Right.
For a few games, and hey, that's good for him to show that like he can hang
Right.
in the NHL, you know. And obviously, when you build the defense, the forwards, you have to build it out from the net. And I think we're going to see some good stuff from Arvid
Yeah.
this year.
And it's like You look at Vegas. They used 5
Mhm.
goaltenders. Aiden
Yep,
Hill
5.
won them the cup. And is Aiden
Mhm.
Hill a world beater? Is Aiden Hill Ilya
No.
Sorokin? No, he's not. Is he Vasilevsky? No. Shesterkin? No.
Mhm.
He's no one, And not no one, obviously. He's a Stanley Cup champion
Yeah.
in Las Vegas, Nevada, but
Mhm. Aiden Hill was someone that's just like getting cut every year, like, oh, he's not really like that starter or backup quality.
yeah.
But hey, when you're playing behind a defense like that, um, just make the saves that you have to make, and they got the cup.
Yeah, so it's just I think the goaltending I don't know, meta if you want to say, I don't really
Hmm.
think it's it's working out as it used to. You had your
Hmm.
Vasilevsky who played 80% of the games, 75% of the games, and he was elite in the playoffs and he's winning you that cup. He is getting it for
Hmm.
you. Um, I just don't really see that now because now, even in Florida on the opposite side for the cup, you had Bob, you had Lyon, and it's like Lyon gets you into
Hmm.
the playoffs. Bob secures your spot in the rounds ahead. And it's like, yeah, of
Hmm.
course, Bob is a good goaltender, back to back Vezinas, but, Alex Lyon, 30-year-old Alex Lyon gets you into the playoffs. So I don't really think
Hmm.
you need that number one elite
No,
goaltender anymore. I just think you need solid goaltending, and the people in front of you have to be good
elite.
plus. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
Hmm. And we're probably gonna see, Stauber for maybe a short stint,
Yeah,
right? Or even Comesso if they want to give him a few games. So we don't have to get into the stats, but there are going to be some tendies that we might see this year again, right?
right.
So
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
yeah. Stauber he had great
Hmm.
success. I think like in the
Yeah.
beginning he was like three for three started
Yeah,
out, which
man.
is like the first goaltender since it was a while to win
Yeah.
their first 3 starts for the Chicago Blackhawks. I think
Hmm.
it was probably Belfour. That
Hmm.
guy was good.
Yeah, that's a different caliber,
Yeah,
right? But yeah, but Stauber, he was undrafted, right?
right.
I think we just signed him from
Providence
Providence,
College, yeah, free agent,
college.
yeah.
Yeah,
After the Frozen Four,
yeah,
after his performance in that tournament,
right. Yeah, and he's proven to be solid at the NHL level. Just right out the gate. But obviously, being in Rockford, I think that'll help him out a lot too.
definitely, definitely. And then
Hmm.
you're probably going to see in the Rockford Ice Hogs a tandem of Comesso Stauber, and I think
Hmm.
they're going to probably want Comesso to get the majority of the starts, probably like a 55-45 split, maybe between the two.
Hmm.
And then so yeah, Mrazek Soderblom for the Hawks and
Yep.
Comesso Stauber for the Rockford Ice Hogs. And I
Hmm.
think that's going to do it for this edition of the Chicago Blackhawks Hockey Central podcast. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July, stayed safe, ate some great burgers and dogs. And we're going to be looking forward to the youngins coming in to the Chicago Blackhawks. And I'm Joe Vitali, and this is Skoks. And we're going to sign off today. And you guys have a great rest of the day.
Yep. Let's go
Let's
Hawks.
go, Hawks.